Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had to step out during the opening statement, so I apologize if I'm asking you to repeat something that's already been stated. I have two quick questions, and I'll just pose them both. The first is, do employers have to extend the same exemptions on these sort of vaccine mandates that exist under Arkansas law for childhood exemptions? So, are they required to extend a religious exemption, and are they required to extend a philosophical exemption? Second question is, if we could go back, taking COVID out of the picture for a second, if we could go back to a year and a half ago in a pre-COVID world, what is allowable and what is not allowable in terms of employers asking employees about their medical choices or their medical conditions, and what is allowable or not allowable in terms of requiring employees to receive vaccinations or things of that nature. Could you please address those two items?
Yes, thank you, Representative Ray. It's always good to get a question from you, so I'm glad you're back in the room. So let's take the exemption issue first. I think guidance is clear. If someone has a health condition that prevents them from receiving the vaccination, they can enter into an ADA accommodation interactive process with their employer. And I can talk a little bit about that in a second to go with your second question. Religious exemption, absolutely, that's clear as well. On the philosophical exemption side of that, I know that exemption has existed over in Title VI of the code for school-aged children. I am personally unaware that that's been used in an ADA type situation. So I'm not certain that that would be available. That might be something that Professor Steinbuck can answer for us if he's more knowledgeable in that than I am. But as far as what your employer would have information about your personal health and employer that would get from. Setting COVID aside, let's just talk. I go into my employer. I've had a recent surgery, and my leg is banged up, and it's not going to get any better in 7 to 6 months. I'd say, employer, I have this issue with my leg. I can't stand for my shift for 8 hours. The employer would engage me in the interactive process. They'd say, well, Brad, your essential job function is, let's say I'm a cashier, your essential job function is to check out groceries. Not that you stand there to do so. So the solution between employer and employee that we both agree to is I need to check this out. I can still perform my essential job functions by doing that. This process doesn't take place in front of your supervisor or your foreman or out on the break room. This is supposed to be done behind closed doors with your human resources type of law. And they're supposed to keep this information private. It's not supposed to be broadcast to the plant, to the shop, whatever the case may be. And typically, if the employee brings in documentation sufficient for the employer to know what the employee is requesting, that should be the end of the inquiry. But if you, outside the COVID situation, if maybe whether my leg is going to heal in 6 months or not is a question, then perhaps my employer would ask me to go back to my doctor to get more information. But again, that's a behind the closed door inquiry that goes on between you and your human resources person. So, I would be uncomfortable if an employee showed up at the plant and there's someone at the front door in front of the time clock saying, you had a vaccine, why not? I think that would need to be handled differently. Starting to ramble, so I'll stop.
That's okay. Earlier in the questioning, HIV was brought up. What is the law pertaining to that?
Well, the American with Disabilities Act prevents employers from inquiring into that. There's also a separate statute, for example, that protects pregnancy and pregnancy-related issues. So there are a series, and I don't know them all, of specific statutes that address various medical issues. If a statute doesn't address the medical issue, then the employer is free to ask and require as well. Private employer, to be clear.
Thank you.
Senator Ballinger, 8 minutes, and